My parents took my phone away from me and sold it and didn't tell me my parents always had strict rules about technology. Growing up, I understood their concerns about screen time, social media, and distractions from schoolwork. But it still felt unfair when they decided to take my phone away without warning. It started one morning when I woke up and reached for my phone as usual to check messages and scroll through social media. I couldn't find it. I looked around my room thinking I might have misplaced it, but it was nowhere to be found. I felt a pang of panic. My phone had everything on it: contacts, photos, important messages. I couldn't imagine going a day without it. I went downstairs to ask my parents if they had seen it. My mom was in the kitchen, making breakfast. "Mom, have you seen my phone?" I asked, trying to sound casual even though I was worried. She looked up, her expression neutral. "Yes, we have it." Relief washed over me for a moment. "Can I have it back? I need it for school." My mom shook her head. "No, we decided to take it away for a while. You spend too much time on it." I felt a surge of frustration. "But you didn't even warn me. I need it for school and to stay in touch with my friends." My dad walked in, hearing the commotion. "We talked about this, remember? We said we'd cut down on screen time if it became a problem. You've been glued to that phone day and night." I tried to explain that I used it for schoolwork and to stay connected with friends, especially during the pandemic when everything had moved online. But they were firm in their decision. They believed that taking the phone away would help me focus more on my studies and spend less time on social media. Days turned into weeks, and I still didn't have my phone back. I felt isolated and out of touch. My friends would ask me at school why I wasn't responding to messages, and I had to explain the situation over and over. It was embarrassing and frustrating. One day, I overheard my parents talking in the living room. They were discussing finances and some unexpected expenses. My dad mentioned something about selling items we didn't need. My heart sank as I pieced together what might have happened. Later that evening, I confronted them. "Did you sell my phone?" They exchanged a quick glance, and my mom sighed. "We had to, sweetie. We needed the money, and you weren't using it." I felt a mix of anger and betrayal. "You didn't even tell me. You just took it and sold it without asking." My dad tried to explain. "We thought it was for the best. You were spending too much time on it, and we needed to cover some bills." "But it wasn't just about the phone," I shouted. "It was my connection to my friends, my schoolwork, everything. You can't just take things away and sell them without telling me." They both looked regretful, but they didn't back down from their decision. "We're sorry, but it was a necessary decision," my mom said softly. I stormed off to my room, feeling a mixture of anger and sadness. It wasn't just about the phone, it was about trust and communication. They had made a decision that affected me deeply without involving me or even informing me. The next few weeks were tough. I had to adjust to life without my phone, finding other ways to stay connected and manage my schoolwork. My parents tried to make up for it by spending more time with me, helping with my studies, and even allowing me more computer time for school. But the damage was done. Eventually, they realized how much their decision had hurt me. They apologized for not handling it better and promised to communicate more openly in the future. They couldn't undo what was done, but they could learn from it. After a few months, they saved up enough to get me a new phone. It wasn't the latest model, but it was enough to reconnect with my friends and manage my schoolwork. This time, we set clear boundaries and rules together so everyone was on the same page. The experience taught me a lot about communication and trust. My parents had their reasons, but the way they went about it was wrong. We all learned from the situation and became closer because of it. It wasn't easy, but we found a way to move forward together. Despite the apology and the eventual replacement phone, the memory of what happened lingered. It wasn't just the loss of the phone, but the sense of betrayal that stung the most. Trust, once broken, takes time to rebuild. As the months passed, life slowly returned to normal. I got back into the groove of school, catching up with friends and managing my assignments. My new phone, though not as advanced as the previous one, served its purpose. However, I noticed myself being more cautious around my parents. The experience had created a distance between us. One evening, while we were having dinner, my dad brought up the topic of trust. "You know," he began, "we've been thinking a lot about what happened with your phone. We want to make things right." I looked up from my plate, curious but guarded. "What do you mean?" my mom chimed in. "We realized we didn't handle things the right way. Taking your phone and selling it without telling you was wrong. We should have talked to you about it first." I nodded, appreciating their acknowledgement but still feeling the hurt. "It really hurt me. I felt like you didn't trust me and didn't think my feelings mattered." My dad sighed. "We know. We want to rebuild that trust. So, we've come up with an idea. How about we have a weekly family meeting where we discuss any issues, concerns, or decisions that need to be made? That way, everyone is involved and no one feels left out." It sounded like a good idea, a step toward better communication. "Okay," I agreed. "But it has to be a real discussion, not just you guys telling me what to do." "Absolutely," my mom said with a smile. "We want to hear your thoughts and opinions too." The first family meeting felt a bit awkward, but it was a start. We talked about our week, shared our concerns, and made plans together. It was a small step, but it felt like progress. One of the first topics we tackled was setting boundaries and rules for phone usage. This time, we did it together. We agreed on specific times for phone use, making sure it didn't interfere with schoolwork or family time. It felt good to have a say in the rules that affected me. As the weeks went by, the meetings became a routine. We talked about more than just rules and restrictions. We shared our dreams, our worries, and our plans for the future. Slowly, the trust between us started to rebuild. One day, after a particularly good family meeting, my dad suggested a weekend getaway. "How about we go camping, just the three of us, away from all the distractions?" I was hesitant at first. The idea of spending a weekend without my phone seemed daunting, but I agreed, knowing it was a chance to reconnect with my parents. The camping trip turned out to be exactly what we needed. We hiked, cooked over a campfire, and talked late into the night under the stars. Without the constant pull of technology, we were able to focus on each other and rebuild our bond. On the last night of the trip, as we sat around the campfire, my dad spoke up. "I'm really proud of you, you know. You've handled everything with such maturity." I felt a lump in my throat. "Thanks, Dad. It hasn't been easy, but I'm glad we're working through it together." My mom reached over and squeezed my hand. "We're a family, and families make mistakes, but we also learn and grow from them." The trip marked a turning point in our relationship. We returned home feeling closer and more connected. The family meetings continued, and so did the open communication. The experience had taught us all a valuable lesson about trust, respect, and the importance of listening to each other. As time went on, the memory of the phone incident faded, replaced by the positive changes it had brought about. We weren't perfect, but we were stronger as a family. The hurt had healed, and in its place was a newfound sense of understanding and closeness. In the end, my parents taking my phone away and selling it was a harsh lesson, but it led to growth and change. We learned the importance of communication and trust, and it brought us closer together as a family. It wasn't easy, but we came out the other side stronger and more connected.